Happy Friday, diehards and degenerates. What's going on? Welcome to a live edition of the Undefeated Post-Weigh-In Show. We are talking UFC Vegas 64, and boy, did we have a lot go on today. This card is absolutely bonkers. We had five UFC fighters that missed weight on the scales this morning. So we're going to get all into the nitty gritty. I'm not busting out the tinfoil hat today only because it's cold as shit in my office today. So the beanie is staying on the head. All right, everybody, what is up? Welcome into the chat. Appreciate y'all tuning in. Hope you like the themed thumbnails I've been doing here on Friday. But you know what? It doesn't stop there. Not only is all that going on, but I brought a special treat for you guys here on Friday. You may know our man from previous shows on the Die Hard MMA podcast. You may know him from On the Line, the Dana White's Contender Series, or the Gambler's Perspective. That's right, the glorious return to the Die Hard MMA podcast, none other than Johnny the Greek. Johnny, what's up? How you doing today, man?
Never better, Clint. Thanks for having me, man. And perfect time. It's just so much going on. You nailed it. With UFC, obviously, and MMA, and a couple different promotions going on today, and then the UFC tomorrow. But we got to remember, right now, there's Major League Baseball World Series, NHL has began, college football's in full force, NFL's halfway through. There's a lot going on in the sports betting market, and this is the perfect time to be doing damage. I mean, this is when all sports bettors need to be taking advantage of the opportunity, because on down times they have nothing to do but sharpen up those lines. But right now there's just a lot of inefficiencies out there. We've been betting football, baseball, NBA all day today. So let's get some MMA out there. I've only placed 2 bets on Saturday's card, so we're actually going through this together. We may confirm some bets on the show as well. So
I love it.
Looking forward to it.
All right. Let's get into it, Gianni. So first fight of the night, Ramona Pascal taking on Vidal, the UFC newcomer. Ramona's the first one to miss weight here on the list today. She came in at 137. Vidal came in at 134. And Ramona actually looked fine. Like, she looked annoyed that she missed weight. She was moving well. So I don't think she hurt herself trying to get down to weight. We know she's struggled with the weight cut before in the past. Vidal, she's kind of got a bit of the soft body thing going on. Not overly physically impressed with her in general. We don't know much about her. It's her UFC debut. Ramona did not continue cutting in this particular case, but when they faced off, Johnny, she's huge. Like, she should be fighting a weight class up. And I bet Ramona earlier in the week. I got her at plus 125. And part of that was because I didn't think she was going to make weight. I figured we were going to have a decent size and strength advantage regardless of whether or not she made the weight. I'm happier that she missed with a Ramona ticket in my pocket here. Did you guys have any sharp action, or do you have an opinion on this one?
Yeah, and let me tell you this, and real quick, let me just give this disclaimer. How I approach it is the way what works for me, and I've been able to turn it. This isn't the talent, it's so you can manage your risk correctly. I've turned the profit 7 straight years, and if the year ended tonight, it would be 8 straight, and top 3 at the sites I'm at over that span. In all sports overall, in MMA, every single year documented. I do what works for me. Now, if you're already winning, stick to what you're doing and pick up what you can from other winning bettors. If you're not profitable yet, then maybe some of the approaches that I may present, dig a little deeper and maybe they'll help you become more profitable. I come from the advantage player school where we're just looking for inefficiencies. We bet numbers. We don't bet teams. At the end of the day, my goal is to have a better ticket in my pocket that when it goes out that what it closes at, that assures me that long-term I'll be profitable. That's been proven. I think I've proven that by documenting my results. and every pick I've released over since 2015. With that said, with this fight, the reason I set it up and said that before we break this one real quickly, is because this one is easy if you're an advantage player, meaning the only side you could possibly bet right now is the Vidal side, because all the value on the Pascal side is gone. It's been extracted. All the sharp bettors got down at nice plus money. Now, regardless of outcome, they placed a great bet. The equivalent of me meeting up with you and saying, let's flip this coin. I'll give you 10-1, but we're only flipping it one time and we got to bet $100. You have to take that bet. Now, you may lose it because we're flipping it one time, but I'm giving you 10-1 on a 50-50. So it's obvious you have to take it. Now, with this, the reason I bring that up is it's exact same situation. The value's been extracted. So you now have to look at the Vidal side. Is the Vidal side still plus EV? Now that it's dropped so much, because let's not forget, she opened at what? A minus 235 favorite. So the market at that time, the odds maker said she's got 70% chance of winning this. Now the market's telling us she's got a 55% chance of winning this. Has the implied win probability been adjusted correctly? Personally, I think it's a little bit too swayed now. It's too far, meaning I agree with the side that there's no value on the Pascal side. Like the advantage players now, I think, are only looking at Vidal. And here, what do you have? A 10-year age gap, 24 versus 34. Under 24, under 25 actually is the highest winning percentage in the UFC. Over the last 10 years, under 25-year-olds have won 65% of their fights. If it's a 10-year gap, they have won over 68% of the time. So almost 7 out of 10 times, this situation, Vidal comes out, regardless of the name, just the trend comes out ahead. Pascal, 0-2 in the UFC, but is a little bit of an advantage because she's already fought. And we know debut fighters, they're in that range where they lose about close to 6 out of 10 times, 57%. I think it's over the last 400 plus fights debuting. So finally, it's Vidal or pass at this point. I don't like the side. Again, I haven't seen enough to fade the bigger Pascal. And that's the problem here, that if Vidal faces someone now that she hasn't faced, because again, having the experience of the Contender, I see a lot of these fighters who come from them promotions when they hit a roadblock that they've never faced before. They've cut through the competition and all of a sudden, oh shit, this guy's stronger than anyone I ever faced. This guy could grapple better than anyone I ever grappled with. And I don't know how she's going to react to someone with this physicality of Pascal. So for me, it's a pass, not to go long, but I think the value's been extracted. On the dog side, I think that was plus EV, but I think it's gone now. You're looking to be the product of good luck if you're betting Ramona. And I do think if you do need to bet this fight, I'd be looking at the Vidal side and hope she has a good debut.
I hear you. All right. Thank you, Johnny. Ton of great info there to get us started here. Shout out my guy in the chat, MMA Rewind. I'm doing themed thumbnails now, and there's 5 people missing weight. So that's me with a bad weight cut in the thumbnail for today. That's why it looks a little different. Next fight up here, Carlos Candelario taking on Jake Hadley. We've got another weight miss. Carlos Candelario came in 128.5. Hadley made 126. The thing I noticed about Candelario, he was walking super stiff, looked a little pale on the scale. So one of these spots where I don't think he did this purposefully. It looks like he tried and ran into a roadblock with his weight cut. Big miss though, coming in, 3 pounds over like that. Jake Hadley looked in great shape, did the gorilla chest pound thing. He's another guy that's had some struggle missing weight. He missed on the Contender Series, barely got the UFC opportunity because Dana wasn't happy with him. So good to see him being here on point. I mean, both guys were mean mugging. Candelario, slight size advantage here. Johnny, I did go ahead and throw Jake Hadley in a parlay. I like him here. I think this is a put up or shut up spot for him. It's a spot where a contender that dropped his UFC debut, I kind of feel like the undefeated kid takes that personally, comes back stronger, and I kind of expect him to get the win. I was a little surprised that Candelario was as big as he was at the face-offs, though. That's one of those things that you imagine these fighters going toe-to-toe and it looks one way, but as soon as they stand in front of each other, it's a little different. So Candelario's size kind of bothers me a bit, but I still think Jake Hadley should get his hand raised on this one. Decent-sized favorite looking at Superbook Sports. Jake Hadley's a minus 265. Carlos Candelario is a plus 225 underdog. Do you have any leans on this one?
Here's the problem I'm having. I think Hadley goes out there, bounces back. He did well. Remember him on the Contender Series in 2021, but he was upwards of a 3-1 favorite back then, and he did what he was supposed to. With all that said, pre-UFC, it wasn't really stiff competition. What I mean is his non-UFC bouts came against opponents who are 39 and 34 overall. So that's 53%. And we saw in his debut in a fight, the market expected him to win 2 out of 3 times because he closed a -210. He did not come through for his supporters. And to now go back to the window and lay an even greater price on him, to me, just makes absolutely no sense. Meaning, even if he goes out there and wins this fight, I just think if you look up on that board come Saturday, there's got to be a spot where you're willing to trade your dollars for a better ROI position, meaning a spot where you're like, I think I'm getting the best of it. I don't think Hadley's giving you the best of it in this spot. I don't think anyone's seen enough in his 9 pro fights. And like I said, against a weaker competition pre-UFC to draw that conclusion. On the flip side with Candelario, we're kind of on the same situation. You know, a guy who split actually 2 Contender Series spots, you know, wins his first one, loses the second one, and then loses his debut. But he wasn't expected to win, meaning the closing line had him winning this fight 1 out of 4 times. So no surprise he lost, but his pre-UFC also not that impressive. But with all that said, forced to bet this fight, it's dog or pass. Because again, Hadley got this opportunity last time, was the chalk, didn't come through. He should get it done, but I don't think it's a good bet. So if I have to bet my money gun to head, I'm going to look for a return on Candelario, but I don't expect that ticket to cash, if it makes sense.
Fair enough. And I'm taking the opposite approach, Gianni. I'm doing the square thing on this one where I'm going, I think Hadley wins. You know, the price isn't great. I don't like the number. I think he bounces back here.
That's okay. Honestly, there's nothing wrong with that. I've realized in the time that I've done this, I've been betting now 2-3 decades, I'm not good enough to do that. Meaning I'm not good enough to bet my opinion. I've come to that conclusion that if I bet my opinion, it will burn me. So I've made my trading automated. It has to fit these boxes. If these boxes check, I bet it. And I'm comfortable knowing that's the only time I bet, and that this is the bet size based on these qualifications. I bet 1x, 1.5x, 2x, 2.5x, and that's it. So all my betting is pretty much automated, and I don't let my opinion sway me, because in the past it has burned me. And that's why I try to separate myself from, and again, my bias creeps into my sports betting every single day, and I fight it like every other human, but I try to be conscious of that. And this would strictly be me betting my opinion if I bet the Hadley side. And I just, again, I try to stay away from that.
I hear you. Got to protect yourself from yourself sometimes. Johnny Munoz taking on Liudvik Sholinian in this next fight up. Johnny Munoz came in 135.5. So did Liudvik Sholinian. And Johnny Munoz looks like he's got a chip on his shoulder. Mean mugging the whole time up there on the scales. Looked good. So did Liudvik Sholinian. No issues there either way. Both these guys size up pretty well. Respectful handshake at the face-offs. I love this fight, Gianni. I can't wait to see what happens here. I've been a big supporter of Johnny Munoz in the past. Got burned for it in his last fight, unfortunately. So I'm a little gun shy to go back to the well here. I am picking him to win over Sholinian. I think that submission offense is going to be what eventually gets it done. I haven't been overly impressed with Liudvik so far, but at the same time, the chin concerns with Johnny Munoz, even though Sholinian's more of a grappler, he's not really a knockout guy. I'm just a little wary of laying -250 with him. So I'm picking Johnny Munoz. No bet for me. I'd maybe look at the submission prop, if anything, but that would maybe be the only thing I'd do at +250 there. What about yourself on this one?
I actually bet this one. And again, one of the approaches that I like to use is regression. We all revert to the mean. Everything does. All markets do. They sway one way too far, then they come back the other way. You see it in stocks. You see it in crypto. You see it in sports betting. And in this spot, I expect Munoz to revert back to that mean, meaning he's coming off that first round loss, and that recency bias is giving us value here where otherwise we wouldn't. And on the flip side, with Liudvik. Excuse me if I mispronounce. Forgive me. English is my second language. I try. Not only did he, I mean, listen, he got dominated by Short, but with all that said, he was a plus 440 favorite. I mean, underdog. So he was supposed to get finished. The fact he went through a decision is probably a plus, meaning I don't think his stock went down where it kind of should have. I agree with you, meaning his ability to not close, meaning he's finished 17% of his fights in a weight class where even in the UFC, which in other lower promotions, it's even higher, but even at the UFC, bantamweight's 51% of the time, it doesn't go to the judges, and he's sitting at 17%. So the threat of him rocking Munoz, I don't see it there. It's not really in the data. So for me, this was a comfortable bet to place on Munoz, whose skill set and analytics support him being a 3-1 favorite. And I think the only reason that's not the case is because of that first round loss. And that is why we're getting a decent price, but it's moving up. So again, value gets extracted as the number adjusts. But this is one of the bets that I did bet and gave out to my guys immediately.
Okay, I like it. Let's go Johnny Munoz. Next up, we got Jinh Frey taking on Polyana Viana. Both ladies came in at 115.5 today. Jinh Frey stepped a little gingerly on the scale. I was kind of looking out there, seeing if maybe she was having a bit of a tough cut, but honestly, man, she gave a big flex. She looked good on the scales, and she moved well as soon as she hopped off. So nothing really to look into there. She looked fantastic. Polyana Viana, no issues. Big smile. Got to mention the Naruto pain tattoo in the middle of her chest, as always, is an interesting choice. Decent height advantage here for Polyana Viana. Jinh Frey is thick at this weight class, man. This is a great fight. I can't wait to see how this one plays out. There's been money, it looks like, coming in pretty consistently on Polyana Viana. This thing opened up a pick'em for Viana slight dog. You've got minus 140 now on Polyana Viana, plus 120 on Jinh Frey. I've been teetering back and forth on this one basically all week, Gianni. I think the youth and the height and the reach and the potential improvements of Polyana probably shine through here. But at the same time, Jinh Frey knows how to stay in fights, knows how to work her way to a decision. So if you want to play Frey by decision and count on that toughness, I don't blame you. I haven't bet this one. I think I'm going to pick Polyana Viana to get it done, but no strong opinion here for me. Do you have anything for us on this one?
This is the second bet I placed. I actually bet Polyana at a little better number than it sits right now, but I would still right now for the show call it a premium bet. I think she still offers value even at this price. You already know I like the fact she's 7 years younger, and Frey at 37, it starts to matter. Once you cross that 35 range, if you look at, like, again, I just look at charts and numbers. I don't even have pictures of these fighters up when I do this. That's all that I'm looking at. You would see the graph and the chart take a big dive on winning percentage, just like it goes up for fighters under 25. It's just how it is. And with that said, I like the Polyana side also, because when I look at the data as far as striking and grappling, I don't see the disadvantages. My fear was, can Frey control her? Can she take her down, control her, and do pretty much what was able to get past Polyana in the past? I don't see that strength here with her. Her takedown accuracy is about 33%. She only attempts maybe less than 3 takedowns per 15 minutes. So she's not too successful. So based on that math, again, small sample size, you can't really say it's on point, but she should land 1 over the fight at most. And based on the 50% takedown defense from Polyana, that's probably where it'll be. And I don't think that's enough to win 2 out of 3 rounds. I think Polyana, even in that round, if she's taken down, won't be controlled for very long. And when you look at the time that Frey's controlled her opponents, not very much. Less than 20% of her minutes when she's grappling is she in that control position. So for me, the data makes sense. I mean, I don't see the advantages for Frey to better even as an underdog, and the age difference. And I like Viana in this spot. I bet her again at a little better price, but I would bet her if it opened at this and see where it went.
Okay. I like it, Gianni. I like it. And honestly, it's even worse than that, man. Frey has a 0.62 takedowns per
There you
15
go.
minutes, less
There you
than one.
go.
So there are no takedowns being shot by Jinh Frey. So I hear you there on that one, man. I might have to jump in. I've been leaning with Viana all week and haven't.
Because at least that's what again, you watch them a lot deeper than I do, you know, and try to extract value from tape. And I think if you watch the tape, you would see that Frey would be a threat if she's able to do that to her. At least that's what the data points to me, that if she was able to take her down and control her there, we would be in trouble. But I don't see, you know what I mean, where she's been able to do that. So, yeah, I'm pretty comfortable.
I hear you. I hear you. All right, moving along, everybody. Hey, if you're hanging out with us, do us a favor, support the show, hit the like button while you're here. Mario Bautista taking on Benito Lopez, 135.5 for Mario Bautista, and we got another weight miss. The sucked out skinny boys coming through again. Benito Lopez, 138.5 on the scales today. Bautista, this guy is cut up. Johnny, he is strong as an ox. It looks like he's really filled out at this 135 weight class. He is on point today. Benito Lopez has been gone for about 3 years, and frankly, he looks soft, Gianni. He didn't look like he usually does. You know, we haven't seen him in a long time. I expected, you know, if he comes back reinvigorated, maybe add some muscle. Oh, looks like it might have gone the other way. He's skinnier, if anything. These guys size up pretty damn well. Bautista was wearing his shoes, so we can expect him to be a little shorter when they get in the cage on Saturday. It was a good stare down. I like the intensity. I really do. But I think this is a Mario Bautista spot. I kind of feel like Benito Lopez has one foot in the grave, Gianni. He's out there finding alternate sources of revenue. The fact that he came in after this long of a layoff, not training at a major gym, missing weight, like he just seems disinterested. I'm not even sure what he's doing coming back at this point if this is the effort that we're going to get. Bautista is the other half of that parlay that I made a little earlier in the evening. My just win angle here. I think Bautista gets his hand raised. It's a bit of a question mark going against Benito Lopez with how long he's been gone. You never know what kind of improvements or adjustments they will have made. I'm kind of reading the tea leaves, and I don't feel like he's coming correct in this spot. So that's my side. What about you, Gianni?
Well, if you like the Bautista side, the slight line move shouldn't really stop you too much. I mean, it's moved about 5% in implied win probability, and you should take a position if you think your edge is a little greater than that. It probably ends up being lesser than that, but I don't think that should really stop bettors from backing the Bautista side. But my caution is that even though I say he wins this fight, he should definitely win this fight. I mean, just the fact that when you look at his first UFC loss came to Corey Sandhagen, meaning he was thrown in on short notice in 2019, just 3 years ago against Corey Sandhagen, tells you what was expected of Bautista. So you were not going to get him at a discount when he was in the favorite spot. And that's what's turned out, meaning he's won 2 of his 3 fights as a favorite, but he's negative ROI. His average closing line is minus 262. That's a 72% break even. He's 2-1. That's 67%. So he's negative ROI as a favorite because the market's priced him correctly. And that, to me, sticks out here, meaning with Bautista, like, where does the plus EV end? I mean, I think he wins this fight. He should get it done even inside the distance. The time off for Lopez, 39 months, I don't think that's a positive. I know guys will argue that it's changed, and I've done some research, and over the last 60 plus, I think 70 plus UFC fighters with more than a year off, they've actually come back and won more fights than they've lost, believe it or not, where a decade ago, that trend was the opposite. But now the training is different, the recovery is different, and I think that's why some of these year and a half, 2 year layoffs are good. But this is 39 months. And like you said, a lot has changed in between. So for me, I think it's Bautista. I think it's Bautista inside the distance, but I don't see a ton of line value. If you did, I don't think you should not bet it, meaning the guys out there, if you like them, you could still get him at minus 300 right now. And he opened at minus 260. So you're not giving up too much implied win probability. I don't think you even have to use them in a parlay to try to get to lower your expense. Again, we could debate and argue that on another show. But I just think if you're like Bautista, bet him at minus 300. Why not? It's out there. This is a good spot for him where he hasn't been profitable in this spot. I just can't because I don't have enough boxes checking off supporting it. Because again, I like to look for guys that are profitable. And he's just been priced. He's been priced. Some guys are just priced right, man. Just like some teams are priced right. You see in college football, a team ends the season 12-0, but they're 5-7 ATS because the market just got it right. So sometimes you just got to, pass on winners that aren't going to give you a return on investment. And as a bettor, that's all you need to be looking at is, am I getting an ROI for this bet?
I hear you. All right, I like it. Miranda Maverick taking on Shannon Young coming up next here. Another miss, folks. Miranda Maverick came in 125.5. Honestly, she looked a little bit rough on the scales today. Ended up being okay, moved well enough. I'm not too concerned with her, but didn't look like an easy cut. Shannon Young, she was jacked up there, Gianni. She looks like she's been putting on some muscle, working out strong, good flex, moved well, but she came in at 127. The thing with Shannon Young is she didn't take no for an answer, Gianni. She's the only one of the fighters who missed today that went back and continued to cut. She came back in and she actually chopped her hair off to make 126. So she actually got the damn thing done. She's not going to lose a percentage of her purse, and we've got a fight going here for this one. They size up really well, folks. Shannon Young is big. Like, people forget how large this woman is. This spot gives me the heebie-jeebies, if I'm being real with you, Gianni. Miranda Maverick, a minus 750 favorite. Shannon Young plus 525 the comeback. I've been talking about it all week. I think Miranda Maverick is overrated. I think Shannon Young is underrated. That said, I think Miranda still probably wins this fight, but it's not going to look like the first one did. She tapped her in the first minute the first time. This is not the same Shannon Young that fought Miranda Maverick all those years ago. I think we're going to have a much more competitive fight. Shannon's the better striker. She hits harder. If she can keep this fight standing, she's going to give Miranda Maverick problems. I do think Miranda will eventually end up getting the takedown. It's a question of whether or not she'll get the finish, in my opinion. I think we're headed for a decision on this one personally, Gianni. Do you have a play on this one? With a line this wide, it's real hard to find a spot to attack.
No, but here's what I'm going to tell the viewers. And the bottom line is, if you bet Miranda Maverick right now, that's a terrible bet. Even if she goes out there and wins this, that's the worst bet you could possibly make. And she's probably going to win this fight. And let me explain why real quickly. Because if you like the Miranda side, you needed to pencil it already and wait to better when the odds makers open the number. Because you already know that she's 3-2 as a favorite. But she closes at an average of minus 243. That's a 71% break even. Remember, she's 3-2. That's 60%. So she's way below the break even by the time the line closes. So you can't wait on Miranda Maverick. If you liked her, you had to get to the window immediately. So betting her now is absolutely the worst thing you could do, even though you have some of those boxes, Southpaw versus Orthodox. She's 20 under that 25-year-old group. She's 6 years younger. They tend to win, over 60% of the time. She's got those edges, but she doesn't where it matters, and that's in the return on investment. Where Shannon Young, even though she lost on Contender Series as a favorite, do you know she's been profitable for her backers in the UFC? Yes, she's 1-2, but she's been an underdog in all three of those fights, and she closed at an average of 280, plus 280. The break even on plus 280 is 26%. She's won 33% of her fights. So she's outperformed the betting market. Maverick's underperformed the betting market. And you're going to go out there and lay 750 because you think she's going to win? There can't be a worse bet than that on Saturday. So hopefully some of those concepts help you with other bets, because I really hope, even if she gets it done, bettors aren't going to the window and laying the 750.
Unfortunately, it's far more common than we would like to admit, Gianni. She's in every parlay under the sun. Everybody's piling in.
She's probably going to win. She's probably going to win.
Probably. Probably. I'm rooting for Shannon Young. If anything.
Dude, I live in Vegas. I walk through the casinos every day. Bad bets win every single day. every day you walk through, someone's hit a roulette number. Someone's hit on craps on a hard 8. Every day bad bets win. Every second bad bets win.
That's what we're doing
here.
They
don't
All
win
right.
more than they should. They don't win enough for you to be profitable making them. That's the only problem.
I hear you. I hear you. All right. Next up, we've got Derek Minner taking on Sholinian Ulanbekov. Minner came in at 146. Sholinian made 145.5. Derek Minner looked good today. Solid abs, relaxed, no issues. And Sholinian is another one of these. Oh my goodness, thick. Like this man has so much muscle piled up on him. Cheekbones popping out. Big deep breath when they called his weight. It looks like he thought he might miss or it might be close. He was not looking forward to it. But then the man gave his brick shit house flex over there. These guys size up pretty well. Minner's obviously slightly taller. Sholinian is thicker, but he's going to be a little shorter. Gianni, I'm big on violence for this one. I like the under 2.5. I got minus 120 here for the under 2.5. The way that Derek Minner fights, he's balls to the wall in that first round, and then he doesn't leave himself many outs beyond that point. So I think he either finishes early or he leaves himself open to get finished after that first round if he doesn't get the win. I am also on Derek Minner by sub, and Derek Minner by sub in round 1 because that's his path to victory. Like, this guy submits people. Sholinian has lost by submission, I believe, 6 times over the course of his professional career. So we've seen it's a weakness of his. And even in his last fight against TJ Brown, he gave up some really bad positions that I think if you give those same spots to Derek Minner, he will finish this fight. It's a step down in competition for Derek Minner. It's a step up in competition for Sholinian. For me, it's dog or pass, but it's one of those things, Gianni. I am never in my life going to play a Derek Minner money line because the only thing he does is finish. So if you're going to bet Derek Minner, there's almost no point in playing the money line. I think he has 1 decision win in his UFC run. So what are you playing a money line for? I'm on violence. I'm on under. I'm on the sub prop. Do you have any opinions on this one, Gianni?
I think you're on the right side with the under. I haven't bet this fight, and here's what I'm going to say. You nailed it, Clint. You are on the money with everything you just said, and all the data and the numbers all reflect that. The bottom line with Sholinian is this. If you're going to bet him, you want to bet him as an underdog. That's the kind of fighter you want as a dog. He's been profitable as a dog. He's won 2 out of 3 as a dog, and he's closed at an average of plus 200. Well, the markets realized he's winning fights. So that value is no longer there. You're now being forced to lay over 200, and he's going to close as a betting favorite for the first time. And this will be his 4th fight. So he's in a position he hasn't come through yet for bettors. With all that said, Minner on the flip side is exactly in the spot you want him to be. If you're going to bet Derek Minner, you bet him as an underdog. Because like you said, it's either finish or nothing at all. And as an underdog, he's 500. He's 2-2. But the beauty of it is he's closed at an average close of plus 240, where he's only got to win 29%, 30%. So he's 20% above what the betting market thinks he should have been doing. He's outperformed it. He's crushed it. I'm not fading Minner. It's 100% dog or pass. And another spot where if the favorite goes out there and wins, I still can't conclude it's a good bet at all. I agree with you with the under. I also think if you need to bet it, sprinkle a little on Minner and see if he gets it done for, especially.
Oop. I think we lost Gianni. Internet issues. At least it ended on a good shot. We can see his nice shiny teeth. Gianni, if you can hear me, disconnect and jump back in, man. I think we lost you. All right, I'm going to go ahead and bounce Gianni out here for just a quick second. We'll see. Hopefully he can unplug and plug the router back in and get back in here with us. We are going to go ahead and move on, though. Nate Maness, Tagir, Ulanbekov. Maness made 125.5. Ulanbekov 124.5. And guys, if there was anybody on this card, any single person that was going to be on this card that missed weight, it was supposed to be Nathan Maness. How the hell did this man make weight? I will never know how Nate Maness made weight. I mean, he's competed at 155, 145, 135. Now he's making a run at 125. But boy, let me tell you, he looked like Skeletor up there on the scales. You can see his damn ribs. Like, he did the John Jones arms wide open thing up on the scales today, and you can pick out each individual rib. I don't think you're supposed to be able to see those. Like, call me crazy, but I don't think that is supposed to be what the human body looks like before a fight. So I'm a big Nate Maness fan, guys. I've gone to war with him a couple of times betting. You guys know I like him. I was looking at betting him here on this particular fight because I don't think a whole lot of Tagir Ulanbekov, frankly. but I don't like that weight cut. I don't like, these guys size up really well. They're the same size, they're the same frame. Tagir's got that wrestling in his back pocket. We've seen that be effective against Nate. And Nate's big thing is he gets hurt, he gets rocked, and then he works his way back into a fight, and you can't get him out of there. Missing 10 extra pounds of water weight, I don't know if his durability is quite going to be the same. I'm rooting my ass off for Nate Maness. I want him to get this win here, but I can't do it. I can't put my money on him. That's all it comes down to for this one. And then the one note I thought was super interesting is Tagir Ulanbekov wore a mask at the weigh-ins today. Now, regardless of how you feel, politically speaking, mask or no mask, we haven't seen anybody rocking the mask at the UFC weigh-ins since the COVID days. It's been a long time. So I wonder what's going on with Tagir. I don't know if maybe he knew somebody was infected or was exposed, or if he's just being cautious and trying to protect himself. I'm not sure. That's a curious thing these days to have a fighter rocking the mask at weigh-ins. So for me, I want to say it's dog or pass. I want to say it's Nate Maness or nothing for me, but after how he looked on the scales today, it's pass or pass for me. If I'm going to have any type of like a degenerate gamble on this one, it's going to be like a Nate Maness inside the distance or something, because I just can't see how he can outwork someone like Tagir over a 15-minute fight. If Tagir puts him on the mat, I think he's going to need to sub him or reverse him or hurt him, something along those lines to be able to go ahead and get the win. You can get Maness by knockout plus 550, by sub plus 1,200 over on Superbook Sports. The under 2.5 is plus 190. And I don't mind that at all, frankly, because Tagir Ulanbekov may not be the biggest hitter we have ever seen, but if Nate Maness is at all fragile from this weight cut, that under 2.5 could definitely be live, because Nate finishes everybody. So if Nate's winning, it's a finish. If Nate's losing, usually it's by decision. But after that weight cut, I get TJ vibes. Like when TJ took all those pills to cut down and it was just too much on his body. Those are the kind of vibes that I get. I'm happy to say we got the internet issues sorted out. We got Gianni back. Do you have any thoughts on Nate Maness and Tagir Ulanbekov, Gianni?
Let me see, because again, everything's numbers right here, so I don't want to just mislead people. I want to give them good stuff.
Absolutely. The weight cut has me concerned, Gianni. Dropping a third or fourth weight class down for the man. I want to bet Nate as an underdog. I just think he's underrated, but I can't. Like, I get TJ vibes. When TJ took all those pills to take Cejudo on and was fragile moving down a weight class, that's kind of what I'm seeing here from Nate Maness in this spot. So as much as I want to bet him as a dog, I'm staying off.
This is actually wait, where's that Maness fight? Because I did have something on it. There it is. Yeah, Tagir's another guy who has been overvalued in this spot as a favorite. Mm-hmm. That's what I remember, that even though, again, he's got a winning record in the UFC, the market's done a good job of pricing him where you haven't been able to be profitable. And that's because the level of opposition hasn't been great, meaning he's done it against an opposition, his three opponents that are combined 6-11 in the UFC. So obviously you're going to be, no one's going to give you a Tagir at a discount. So the bottom line is now against a quality opponent who, as an underdog, has really come through. He's won 2 out of 3 as a dog, and he's closed at an average of plus over 300. So he was supposed to lose more than 2 out of 3, and yet he's won 2 out of 3, and he's done it against better competition, against guys that are 7-4 combined. So they've won over 60%. Again, not experienced guys, but guys with a winning record, unlike Tagir. And I think, though, that's why you're getting Tagir in a spot where otherwise you wouldn't. And I know it sounds a little, I don't even know how to put it, to bet him as a favorite when he hasn't been profitable. I think he's undervalued, believe it or not, in this spot because of that. Here's one of those instances where it's a difficult opponent in Maness, an opponent who's come through in this spot, who, again, on paper should provide a stiff opposition for Tagir. But again, I think he's going to have trouble with the southpaw. All the charts that I had point to the Tagir side. I just think it's the right side. Lines moved, I know that. So I could see the Maness love, but I don't think he gets it done here, buddy.
I hear you, and that's why I'm staying off, Gianni. This is one of those, and this is one of those biases.
I think Tagir gets it done, man.
I'm a fan of Nate Maness. You know what I mean? So like for when it comes to betting, I'm like, I want to bet my guy, like more so than usual. So I'm hands off.
I'd like to see a finish in this one.
I would too. I said I felt like the under 2.5 actually felt like it's got some value here at plus money, because if Nate wins,
yeah, that's what
finishing.
I was looking at too. I said that it's a little higher. I anything above plus 150, I think it's close to better than 4 out of 10 times.
Yeah, and over on Superbook Sports, we can get under 2.5 at plus 190, Gianni. So
wow,
that might be one that I jump in on, because I've been looking at that all week. If Nate wins, it's going to be inside the distance. With that cut, I'm worried about his body being a little extra fragile. I know Tagir's not a finisher. This would be the spot. If he's going to get the finish, this would be the spot where he probably does get one. So I don't mind it. I might take a little poke at that under 2.5. All right, we're getting down to it, folks. We got about 3 fights left. Thank you all for hanging out with us. Smash the like button if you haven't already. Josh Parisian taking on Chase Sherman. Josh came in at 265.5. Big old boy today. Chase Sherman, 255.5. Josh Parisian, oh, I mean, he's your classic heavyweight. He's got extra weight on him for days. Chase Sherman, he had a little nervous energy swinging his arms and stuff like that up there on the scale. But some people might say he was like limping off the stage. He couldn't get his foot in his damn shoes. So he was just trying to get his heel to pop down in his shoes, getting off the stage today. Sherman is going to be slightly larger in this spot, and he's in much better shape, Gianni. This is a fight where I kind of tried to make a little bit of a case for Josh Parisian, and the more I look at it, the more I'm like, damn, this should just be Chase. Like, Chase Sherman is not a guy who's reliable. He's not a dude that you can have a whole lot of success betting. But I am not impressed with Josh Parisian. And I heard an interview with Josh earlier this week where he was like, his coaches were really trying to work on a technique with him. And what they came up with is, for his punishment, they would make him do burpees. Like, every time he got hit by, they were doing that drill where they like throw the ball at him against the wall to help him with their movement and their eyesight. Every time he got hit, he had to do burpees. And he was like, bro, I hate working out. My coaches know I hate working out. So he tried like extra hard not to get hit and still got tagged a couple times. But it's just like, damn, dude, like, you're in the UFC. You're one of the biggest guys on the roster. You've got all that extra weight on you. And you're just like, oh, I don't want to work out. Like, the motivation for these guys is different. And I feel like Chase is coming in here with that chip on his shoulder. Minus 135, Chase Sherman. Plus 110, Josh Parisian. I'm going to pick Chase to win. I have a hard time stomaching putting money on him, but at the same time, I think he's the side.
Yeah, it's the randomness at heavyweight that has stopped me from getting to the window with the Sherman side, because I missed him as an underdog. I think if you have Sherman at plus even money or better in your pocket, you placed a great bet regardless of outcome. And the fact where this line will close come Saturday will prove that to be correct, again, regardless of outcome. And with Sherman, it's one of those spots where he's a better hammer than nail. When he's a favorite, even though, he's 1-4 over his last 5, going back only till 2021, he's been really busy. And I kind of like that. And when he's been favored, he's come out and gotten the job done 3 out of 5 times. Like, this is a guy where, again, when he's in that underdog role, you fade him. But when he's in the favorite spot and he hasn't been priced high, he's right near break even where versus the closing line. To me, as a heavyweight, that sticks out. And with Parisian, real weak level of opposition. Again, I think it's Sherman or pass situation. And I'm trying to talk myself into going to the window and actually betting him. So we'll see. Because if he could avoid any type of grappling, this should be a fight he wins.
Yeah, and that's kind of the thing is, you noticed in his last fight against Romanov, not many people get up out from under Romanov. He defended one of those takedowns.
Yeah.
He did get back up to his feet. Like, those are the kind of little baby improvements that you got to look at and be like, well, like, okay,
I agree.
Josh Parisian is not the kind of guy that'll take you down like Romanov will. So yeah, I think I might be with you, and Chase is the look. I don't know how much more I want to get invested on this. Maybe the worst fight card of the year. But if we're making a pick on this particular fight, yeah, I think it's Chase Sherman or pass for me. All right, co-main event, Neil Magny taking on Daniel Rodriguez. I can't wait for this one. Magny is 170.5. Rodriguez came in at 170 on the dot. Neil Magny cut up, Johnny. Looked in great shape today. Gave a huge flex, big smile, no issues for him. Daniel Rodriguez, another chip on the shoulder kind of guy. He's talking all week about Kevin Holland and how he's got to get that fight and stuff. No nonsense on the scales today. Got on, got off. I mean, he looked good. There were no issues or anything like that, but very interesting to me that it almost feels like he's looking past Neil Magny here on this spot. Magny's got that height and reach advantage like he always does. This is a good, solid face-off. This is another spot where Neil Magny's been kind of a money train for me, Gianni. I just keep going back to the well with him. He's constantly underrated, knows how to win fights, just gets the damn thing done. He's minus 125. Daniel Rodriguez plus 105, the dog. I know a lot of people I respect are on Daniel Rodriguez. I think I like Neil Magny. I haven't pulled the trigger yet. I just feel like his grappling, the way he slows the fight down, the way he pins his opponents up against the fence, he knows how to use that frame of his. If you're not going to out-grapple Neil Magny, he usually gets it done. So I don't see Daniel Rodriguez shooting for takedowns in this fight, and I think Neil Magny can probably grease out a little slimy decision here on Saturday. What about you?
I think it's going to come down to where they strike, meaning if Magny's able, because even though he's got that reach, he does a lot of his fighting up close. Like he's used his reach in the past, but not like you would expect for usually dominating in reach. And where Rodriguez, I think 90% of his minutes is spent striking from a distance. If he could keep at a distance, this is a winnable fight for Rodriguez because he's busier, meaning he throws more. Mm-hmm. And I don't think he's going to get, even though he's absorbed more, I think the level of opposition is why that's the case. I don't think Magny's going to outland him in this spot. And that's why I think if he doesn't get a finish, I really do think this is a spot where Rodriguez could win a decision if he, doesn't get him out of there, obviously. And he's only had 30% of his wins have come by knockout. So it's not like that's the method of victory that you kind of expect. But with all that said, that's, I think, what sticks out to me as far as the data. Where's this fight going to take place? And then as far as the grappling goes, will Magny be able to implement it? And if he is, then he's going to create some problems for Rodriguez, because you've seen Magny in the past, if he's in that control position, he could grind out a fight and he tires guys out and he stretches fights out. Like you said,
like fighting molasses.
Exactly. And it just drags on you. And just the way they look, the judges give him the round. Like, and I love it. I mean, Magny's been, and as a favorite, he's been able to get it done. But I think that's why you're seeing, he's 11-3 as a favorite. But the reason I think why you're seeing some love for Rodriguez is, and I saw sharp guys that I give accounts to actually bet the Rodriguez side as a dog, is that if he is able to keep this fight at a distance, and obviously he's an underdog where he's come through in that spot, and he's got momentum, having won 4 straight. I think all those things are positives, is why I haven't bet this fight, and I probably won't.
I'm right there with you. It's Magny or pass for me, though. If I'm gonna bet on it, I'm gonna be on the.
For me, it's D-Rod or pass, and I'm probably passing.
We're both probably just gonna end up watching. Yeah, that's okay. Yeah. That's all right.
Nothing wrong. Nothing wrong with that.
Main event time, everybody. Marina Rodriguez taking on Amanda Lemos. We've got Rodriguez came in 115.5, Lemos 114.5. Rodriguez first to the scale, confident as ever, did her little one-arm pump flex that she likes to do. Amanda Lemos, quite frankly, was just oozing confidence today, Gianni. She looked stone cold up there on the scales. Height advantage goes to Rodriguez. Lemos very cold at the face-offs, hands in the pockets, like not looking bothered whatsoever. I love this fight. I hate it from a betting perspective, but I love this fight. We've got Marina Rodriguez. She's been my dark horse of the division for years now. I've waited for the moment where she gets up there and challenges for a title. I've said it's coming. She's a minus 220 favorite, plus 190 on Amanda Lemos. The thing that concerns me about this fight, though, is Rodriguez's inability to defend the takedown and lack of urgency to get back up to her feet. I know Lemos is not the best wrestler in the division. In fact, she rarely even shoots for takedowns, so it's probably going to be a striking matchup. But if this fight scrambles and ends up on the ground in any way, Lemos can steal an entire round away because Rodriguez won't do anything. to get back up to her feet. That kind of concerns me, laying the -220. I've done that before, and you ended up with a draw one time because she needed a 10-8 to get out of that fight without losing it. So I have a hard time trusting Marina Rodriguez as a favorite, but I do think the 5-round fight benefits her. We see her get stronger over the course of the fight, whereas Lemos tends to slow down. I could see a late finish for Rodriguez. My look for this one, Gianni, is I think I want to try and get in live. If Amanda Lemos can win that first round, get that number to come down a little bit. If I can get a little closer to an even money spot on Rodriguez, if she gives away the first round or two, that's going to be my sweet spot to jump in. I'm picking Rodriguez to get the win. I don't think I want to lay -200 on her.
I initially, when I first saw this number, I wanted to bet the over. And I'm glad I didn't. Because when I see 4.5s or even 3.5s, I love betting overs. I know that blindly, if I just bet every over 3.5 and every over 4.5 over the last 10 years, you'd have made a ton of money. In fact, I can tell you, going over 3.5 has given you over plus 15% ROI the last decade. Going over 4.5 has given you almost a 10% ROI the last decade. And the reason that happens is because bettors like betting unders. It's kind of like in the NFL. For a long time, you could bet the unders and turn a profit. Eventually, markets become more efficient, bettors become more sophisticated, and that no longer was one of those trends you could blindly just bet anymore. And just like this one, it's no longer one of those trends you could blindly bet. What I can tell you is, over the last decade, a lot of the betting groups that I provide accounts to, as soon as they saw over 3.5 or over 4.5, they were betting those overs because they knew the market hadn't caught up yet. Bettors, recreational bettors, love finishes, so they bet what they want to see. Just like I said, the NFL, the overs, for a long time, when I first broke into this, all the betting syndicates were betting were the unders because they knew the price was so inflated. Obviously, not every game under, but with that said, primarily. And luckily, I'm glad I stopped because these guys I respect are strong. They really like the under in this one. And think there's going to be a finish. So I'm kind of glad I stayed off that. Just wanted to share that. Here's what I think. I think if you cover up the names and just look at the numbers, straight data, any information you have of statistics for these two fighters, you will not come to any conclusion that one would be a 2-to-1 favorite over the other. I don't think it would be very hard to come to a conclusion that one would win the fight. Because you got to remember, a 225 favorite means close to 7 out of 10 times the market says fighter A will win this fight. That's very confident. And like I said, I don't think the numbers, anyone will come to that conclusion. The problem I'm having is I do think this Rodriguez wins this fight. When you break it down, it's stylistically, I even think it's a very winnable fight for her. She's able to strike again, another one, 2 out of her 3 minutes. She does so from a distance. She's almost doubles her up in landing significant strikes. She doesn't get hit, absorbs less than 3 significant strikes per minute when she's fighting where she likes to fight from. And then I don't think Lemos is going to be able to implement the grappling. And it's not something where, she's gone out there and really dominated and controlled opponents. So I think stylistically, it's a fight that Rodriguez should win. But again, I don't bet on those reasons. I bet based on where I think the line is -150. I think it should be even money. I'm going to lay it. And for me, it's Lemos or pass because of that. And all the boxes all don't check because stylistic data stats are on the Rodriguez side. And I hope they were more skewed towards Lemos because I would have liked the better as an underdog of this big. But I'm probably, again, not going to get to the window.
I hear you. Honestly, Johnny, if anything, I'd be looking, like you said, at the under. The under 4.5 right now at Superbook Sports is -130. And you hate to see that be a minus number in a women's MMA fight. Usually you'd be looking at plus money. But
that's a telling sign. It's a telling sign, too.
That is a telling sign. And the thing with Lemos is win or lose, it's always a finish.
And it doesn't guarantee it's the right side, but it is a telling sign that at least the odds makers, at least the market, thinks it's more probable to go under, even though it's a woman's fight, like you said. And historically, you wouldn't, a strawweight, it's less than 33% of the time do they finish inside the distance. But the fact that the under 4.5 is favorite is a telling sign, and you do have to pay attention when that's the case.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more, Gianni. And if anything, that's the way I'm going to look. I'm going to bet violence. I'll look for a live opportunity. If we can see Amanda Lemos slowing down, if we can see Marina Rodriguez taking over and get a better number, that's the way I'm going to personally approach this fight. Real quick, shout out to our man in the chat. Don't ask, don't tell with the 1111 donation. Thank you so much. And thank you for reminding me right here on Pub Sports Radio, everybody, we've started a capper contest, and we just opened up the MMA wing for it. It's free to sign up. We have weekly prizes, merch, $50 for the winner of every single week. If you get your predictions right, you get to pick the fighter, the method, the round, all that stuff. Check out pubsportsradio.com. Come over here and see if you can beat us with your predictions every single week on the UFC. Gianni, thank you so much for donating your time, man. We really love and appreciate you here. It's been too long since we've broken down a fight card, so I appreciate you jumping on, man. If you want to, tell the people where they can find you or what you've got going on right now, the floor is yours, my friend. Have at it.
Thank you for having me, man. Always a pleasure. And again, I love what you're doing. Keep doing what you're doing. You're as consistent as they come. You're as hardworking as they come, and you're continuing to get better. I love watching that and seeing that. Like, I'm telling you, like, seeing the trajectory going in that direction, like, you're going to look back 3-5 years from now and you're going to be like, damn, like, so much has changed for you. I promise you. Just stay on your trajectory. You're on the right freaking path. I love it, Clint. You deserve it. Smash his like button, subscribe to his channel, follow him on social media. Seriously, these are the guys that deserve the support. And thank you for supporting me. Check me out at Greek_gambler on Twitter. I wish I was on social media more. I'm going to try. That's my goal for 2023. More content, less volume, and hopefully I'm able to do that. So we'll see. Thanks for having me. I love it.
Thank you, Gianni. Those words mean the absolute world to me. I appreciate you, my guy. Everybody, that's the Undefeated Post Weigh-In Show. Do us a favor, get out of there, kick some ass, make some money. Hit up Gianni and me on Twitter if you have any questions, and jump in the comments below. Let us know what your favorite bet for UFC Vegas 64 is. Have a great weekend, everybody. Let's roll.